The Sinking Island, published by Whitebird's Production, and basically from Benoit Sokal, same mind that brought us the Siberia series. The Sinking Island is a mystery. It uses the typical it doesn't necessarily use the typical point and click format, but you do have to click on people to interact with them. In this game, you play Jack Norm, police officer entrusted with solving the mystery of the death of Walter Jones, a millionaire who is also, well, as our investigations divulge, a bit of a bastard. We get the word that Jones was found dead on an island. And so we head out to that island just as a storm is coming in. Well, we must identify if, one, he was murdered, or if it was an accident. Two, if it was a murder, who's responsible? And why? Now, as it just seems, as it appears when we get to this island, we are met by the lawyer, whose name is eluding me right now. I'd have to try and look that up. But this is how we meet or get to the scene of the crime. Now, things are not going to be easy with this event, with this game, because the island is, yes, sinking. You see, it was designed to be a place for people to go, for the elite. It was supposed to be an epic vacation spot. However, Jack, as our little mystery goes through, it's anything but. First off, we meet Hubert de Nolan. That's our lawyer. And he takes us to where the body was found. Now, Walter Jones is sort of stuck in a wheelchair, obviously. He's a big guy. He ends up stuck in this wheelchair because of an event we find out about as we investigate his death. Now, Jack has a special personal assistant, personal police assistant, like a tablet type thing. And this is to help him figure out, what happened. So our first day on this island, we are just looking around and getting clues on what happened. And in order to complete the game and advance things, you must solve certain you have to solve a series of 13 questions. And this you do it in typical investigative fashion. You find clues. You ask people about the clues to get things, to get information, find inconsistencies in their stories. And on this island, you have two locals, Colio and Biana, or Baina. You have the architect of the tower. You have the grandchildren of Walter Jones and their spouses slash significant others. And of course, they are on all going to be pretty much in this tower, at least come the second day. You see, as we go through the story and find our clues, we learn things about the island. We learn things about the tower. In fact, this tower was built on unstable land. I mean, it would have been fine unless a massive storm comes along, which basically hits, boom, in the case of the island. There was. So now Jack Norm must investigate the death, and at first the death looks very accidental. If a murder if what happened, it looks more like he was, well, let's put it this way. In the beginning, our prime suspect for what happened to him appears to be Baina, who is a local girl who Walter became infatuated with. And when he got too aggressive at one local setting, there was a fall. The whole event traumatized Baina, so she doesn't speak anymore. And Walter is stuck in a wheelchair. Now, of course, this is a typical wealthy family where things are not necessarily, quote, kosher or kind. As we meet the grandchildren, we get the feeling that they are none too happy about the situation. I mean, they've all been at least once been almost written out of the will, if not, well, at least once written out of the will, only be put back in it. But things are a lot more than they seem. But by the time we finish the first day, it begins to look like it was a accidental thing. To make matters worse, though, after the body's been transported off the island, it's discovered that Walter Jones was shot. The question is, how? I mean, not many people were found near the body. And a big man like that, someone like the lawyer is not going to be able to fish him free unless he got help. Of course, by the time he came back with possible help, he was dead and further down outside of his wheelchair. This is when we start finding more and more information that the children were thinking of having their the grandchildren were thinking of having the grandfather basically committed, to which the grandfather got wind of the plan and said, okay, I'll write you out of the will. Because he was still of sound mind, he also had invited everyone to the island and dismissed all the staff. I mean, this was supposed to be a luxury hotel. Why are you getting rid of all the staff? Well, as Jack Norm investigates, he finds proof that where the murder happened. And that the murderer had to have a certain set of skills. Like to be an expert marksman to shoot Walter from where he shot him from. To make matters worse, on the second day, the rain coming down has flooded the building, is starting to flood. In fact, a good portion of the island is underwater, as well as the lobby. So now everybody's trying to plan a way to escape the island because, they're afraid the helicopters won't get there in time, which is a good likelihood because they're busy trying to evacuate other islands. However, as things play out, as we investigate things, start finding things, which should help us narrow down who the killer is, the lawyer comes up to us and says, listen, I know I've done some shitty things, but I want to start making some things right, and I know who the murderer is. I need to get some things together, but I will tell you in the morning. Well, when morning comes, we find the lawyer is dead. We also find that all the lower floors, up to some of the suites, are flooded. Now you have to remember, this building is at least 24 stories. Some of them are probably bigger than ours because you got, the lobby and lounge areas at the base of the building were like floors 1 and 2. Then there's a heliport to come into, and that's up on the top floors 18 and 19, where it has its own lounges. So things are This place is sinking, no doubt because of this building. Well, Jack now has to continue investigating until he finally gets all the clues together. In fact, it even looks like at one moment that a previous employee who was dismissed had returned. And it's not until we start piecing things together that, we finally figure out who it is. And I'm going to say this, the game does a great job of keeping you guessing on, who it is. I mean, at first it appears to be Baina. Then, suspects narrowed down include the lawyer, but he's about to fess up about who really did it. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't necessarily see it myself. And I was using a walkthrough. Now, once you find out who it is, pretty much a cinematic plays out. where we confront the killer, and the killer's just going to add more bodies to their list by trying to escape with an aircraft that was designed by the architect. Let everybody else drown. But of course, they are defeated. Karma plays a huge part in it. And our detective, Jack Norm, basically recounts everything he had found out. You see, the old man had one more FU planned for his grandchildren, where instead of the grandchildren getting their inheritance, it would all be claimed by Ina, by him performing a marriage ritual with her in a secret wedding chapel. Of course, that didn't happen. But it's a good motive. Well, everybody pretty much had a motive. I've been avoiding saying names in this for the most part because I really do think this is one that you should play and investigate on your own. I mean, you have a wonderful tool in this personal police assistant tool because it lets you know where all your suspects are at any given time. So if you have to talk to them, you can always go back to them, find where they are, and talk to them. You will always need to get something from someone because at some point you will need to get, like, their fingerprints, footprints, or shoe prints. And this thing keeps track of every discussion you have with them. I kid you not. You'll go through talking with people, and you can talk to them about everything. If they know nothing, they'll tell you they know nothing. And sometimes when you talk to one person, it unlocks topics with the other person. So always work through it. This is a true police investigation. I don't know how this crazy tool works, but I mean, it matches things up even if there's no way to physically match them up to each other. But in the end, the only body we will never get to see hide nor hair of, I think, again, is the lawyers, but we get the full story. And that is a brilliant thing about this. It's simple. Everything you get in this game, if it's an inventory item, it shows an inventory and you can use it. If it's a clue or information, it shows up in the PPA's inventory. And anything could be a clue. A receipt can be a clue. Something that doesn't make sense stands out. But while you can grab everything and compare everything, not everything is going to be needed to solve one of your pre-required items. I mean, some of the clues are discussion points, which you must go through everything they've said. And the game will let you know, like, if you try and talk to somebody and there's nothing new to talk to them about, nothing will come up. Of course, the trick is that you are going to have to spend some time walking around just to get an idea of where you are. Yes, your range gets narrowed down in each subsequent day, but finding things out, solving the mystery, that is the key aspect of this game. Now, it never got a sequel, although there was going to be one. Probably because this did not necessarily sell as well as expected. Now, another reason why this was done was because the creator of the game, Benoit, he wanted to do a game that had a male protagonist. I mean, most of the games, the Siberia series for definite, is a female protagonist. And Jack Norm, although the name sounds pretty much generic in some ways, he's kind of likable. I mean, we get phone calls throughout at certain times he gets a phone call in or he has to stop and have a meal, which sort of sucks because usually when that happens, people change positions and you have to hunt them down again. But this game cleverly throws red herrings at you and plot twists that you don't necessarily see coming. I mean, you learn that the victim, he could be a good guy and he could be a real bastard. He could be petty as hell, be a schemer. But you can also feel from where all the, anyone who's been cross paths with this guy has been. You can see how he is conniving, trying to set things up to, split his grandchildren from who they are. If they stand up to him, he wants to make them regret it. He's a real piece of work. It makes you feel more for the people who you're pretty sure aren't guilty. And even the guilty you have to be a little sympathetic for until they show their true colors. The game is beautiful. If you've played the Siberia series, you're probably going to enjoy this one. If you like a good murder mystery, you're going to love this. If you're a fan of the classic murder mysteries, this is definitely a game you'd want to play. And that's all I'm going to say about it. I'm going to try. I didn't want to spoil who the actual killer is because I think that the game really works better that way. So please, I would recommend you get a copy of it and try it out. And until next time, I want you all to take care and have fun. Bye all.